Peter Pan Chapter 2 The Shadow. It was Nana's evening off, so the nursery was quiet, except for the steady breathing of 3 sleeping children. Outside, the night air was crisp. Inside, little nightlights flickered gently, guarding the room like tiny stars. But the window was wide open. Peter Pan had been there before, but tonight he had come for something very important. His shadow. The last time he'd visited, Nana had startled him just as he was about to slip away. In the scramble, he had left his shadow behind, and it had been there ever since. Now Peter had returned, gliding silently into the room, the small darting light of his companion Tinker Bell zipping ahead of him. Tinker Bell was not much bigger than your hand, with a body like a tiny glowing person and wings that shone like dragonfly glass. She was quick, sharp-tongued, and not at all shy about making her opinions known. Peter looked around, searching for where Nana had hidden his shadow. There it was, hiding by the curtain, trying not to be found. He snatched at it, shaking it out like laundry, and tried at once to stick it back to himself. But no matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't stay. Shadows are like that. They don't take orders easily. Mrs. Darling stirred slightly in her chair, but did not wake. Wendy, however, moved in her sleep. Perhaps some part of her knew a strange boy was in the room. Peter tried again to attach his shadow, growing frustrated. He even stamped his foot quietly, which is the sort of thing that makes shadows even more stubborn. Finally, he sat down on the nursery floor and began to cry. That was when Wendy opened her eyes. At first, she thought she was still dreaming, for the boy in front of her was like no one she had ever seen before, bright-eyed, wearing leaves and tree sap for clothes, and looking at her with both pride and mischief. "You're crying," she said softly. Peter dashed away the tears quickly. "I am not." "You are crying, I can see," Wendy insisted. "What's wrong?" "I can't get my shadow to stick," Peter admitted. "Oh, is that all? You can't just stick it on. You have to sew it." Wendy jumped out of bed and found her sewing kit. She knelt beside Peter and began carefully stitching the shadow back to his feet. "It's nice to meet you," she said as she worked. "I'm Wendy." "I know," Peter replied simply. "I came to hear your stories." Wendy's needle paused mid-stitch. "My stories?" "Yes, you see, none of us in Neverland have mothers to tell us stories. I came to listen to yours." When the sewing was done, Peter stood and saw his shadow ripple across the floor, firmly in place at last. He was so delighted that he danced, making it follow him. "Oh, the cleverness of me!" he cried. "It was I who sewed it on for you," Wendy reminded him gently. "Yes, but I helped," Peter said quickly, not wishing to share too much credit. Tinker Bell, who had been sulking in a corner, suddenly zipped around, glowing more brightly. Wendy turned her head and gasped. "Oh, she's the loveliest fairy," she whispered. Tink's glow flickered with indignation. She didn't like Wendy's tone. Not because it wasn't kind, but because she didn't like Wendy. Peter explained how he lived in Neverland, a magical island filled with mermaids, pirates, and the Lost Boys, children who had fallen out of their prams and never been found again. "You could come with me," he said eagerly. You could tell us stories every night." The idea was wild, impossible, and yet Wendy felt her heart leap. "Could John and Michael come too?" she asked. Peter grinned. "Of course, I'll teach you all to fly." Wendy hesitated. "But we don't know how." "That's easy," Peter said. "All it takes is faith, trust, and a little bit of fairy dust." Tinker Bell shook herself, and a shower of golden sparkles drifted into the air, catching the light like tiny stars. Wendy's eyes widened. She didn't yet know it, but her life was about to change forever. And so, in the quiet of the night, while their mother slept by the fire, Peter Pan had returned, not just for his shadow, but to open the window to a world the darling children had never imagined. Thank you for listening.